This is the Garfield house. Somebody came out and coming down the road.
Good morning. I'm Corron. I'm one of the guides here at Garfield Tavern and Museum this weekend. I hope you enjoy your stay with us. Enjoy your visit. This is the entrance to the tavern. In the days when this property served as a tavern, this was kind of a dual-purpose room. It served as a registration room and lobby, and also as the bar room. This dry bar here, the place the bartender worked from, and he also served a lot of hard cider that came from a pot like that over there in the corner. This dry bar and secretary, incidentally, is one of the original pieces of furniture from the days of the tavern. This piece was built by Everett Garfield, who was the third son of Mr. and Mrs. Garfield, and it's the original that's been preserved. Another piece of original furniture is this candelabra, and a third is this black rocking chair over here in the corner. Now, this property was settled in 1835. Campton Township itself had its first settlers arrive in 1835. A man named John Beatty was the first settler here, and he settled over in the neighborhood of the boys' school on Route 38. He was followed later that year by several others, and one of them was a man named Culberson, who settled this property itself. We don't know much about Mr. Culberson, where he came from or where he went. But in 1841, he sold this property, 440 acres and a log cabin, to Timothy Garfield and his wife, who came here from Vermont. Mr. Garfield and his wife brought with them 8 children. They had 12 children in all. 4 of them died in infancy, but the other 8 survived and lived with them here and helped them farm and operate the tavern. Mr. Garfield and his sons built this brick tavern on this property from 80,000 bricks that were made in a kiln right here, and opened the tavern in 1846 or 1847. This tavern is one of 4 that operated for about 20 years in Campton Township during that span. And this one served there was a road, an east-west road here that linked Chicago and St. Charles and Sycamore. And travelers on that road stopped here, and for a roaring price of between 35 and 40 cents, they were entitled to a place to sleep. They got a dinner and I shouldn't call it dinner, it was a supper that they had here, and they also got a breakfast, and they also had a place for their horse to stay and get some hay or dried grass too. It paid to advertise. There's a sign out here. I don't know if you got it on your footage today, but it says Garfield Museum. And tell you why it paid to advertise. If you had a sign like that out there, that meant to travelers that you did operate a tavern, and that you did take in roomers, and you did serve food, and that you had a right to charge a fee. If you didn't, custom and tradition stated that if somebody showed up and needed food or shelter, you took them in, but you didn't have a right to charge a fee. So it was a good idea to quite literally advertise. Now, the Garfields, as I said, had 8 children who lived to maturity, 4 boys and 4 girls, and the youngest son, Robert Garfield, inherited the property from them. Robert Garfield inherited this property. His mother died in 1869, and his father had died in 1859 at the age of 62. Robert, about the time he inherited the property, it was turned back into being a full-time farm, and he operated it as a farm from he inherited in 1869, and it operated as a farm until his death in 1900. Subsequently, it was rented to others, and for most of the time in between 1900 and 1977, when the present arrangement was established, it was a series of tenant farmers who lived here. And I guess for about half of those 70-some years, a family named Strum operated this farm and lived here. Robert Garfield married in 1874, 5 years after his last surviving parent had died. He married a lady named Hannah Mile Garfield, who came from Plano. Her family originally came from Vermont also. They had 4 children, and it was Hannah Mile, Robert Garfield's wife, who really was the one who created or implanted the idea of this becoming an historical museum. And her daughter, Elva Ruth Garfield, who was the youngest of their family, heard her mother well, I guess, and went on and the legal vehicle that enabled the creation of the museum in 1977.